video is going to be chaos. But hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mildly Gothic. If you're new here, what I like to do is a variety of artsy things. And today we are catching up with an old friend. And by that, I mean Beetlejuice is back! I am trying to work on getting this cosplay ready to compete in the local convention that happens at the end of April. And before that can happen, there is a laundry list of things that needs to be done. And I'm going to be showing you how I did some of them, because some of these are easier said than others. It is not going to get fully completed in this video. It's just not. Some of these things have been so incredibly tedious. Some of them are more visual and you'll be able to see really easily. For example, one of them, I finally painted the teeth on the head. So the teeth on the outside head need to be black and white stripes, and so those are finally done. That was done by hand. I painted each and every one of those stripes. Should I have done that before the teeth ever went into the mouth? Probably. Did I? No. It wasn't too bad. I think it took me about 2 hours to do the full mouth. Some of the other things that needed to get done, one of them, and this is also probably going to be a short video today, but I think that's okay and will probably be a change of pace from the almost hour-long video I posted last week. One of the other things was this shirt. I didn't have a zipper in the back of this shirt, and so I was physically unable to wear basically this costume without the jacket. And we're going to take a moment and pause while I explain in past tense before I did this why I had so many problems with doing this in the first place, and then also dirtying it up a little bit. So I'm mad at past me, and that's because of this right here. Why the hell did I not just undo this seam instead of just cutting through the sleeve? Like, genuinely, I don't... Because I'm sitting here, one of the things that I want to do to finish this thing up is to put a zipper in it. Well, I've just made that task a whole lot harder for myself because I don't have seam allowance. This is supposed to meet up exactly, and while this is a larger shirt, and so hopefully I'll be able to get away with it, that means I'm going to try to be sewing the smallest little bit of this that I can to try to make this work with the zipper. So I'm not looking forward to it. I'll probably stitch it down to one side first, like this, and get that nice, and then flip it over for, you know, that little finish there. But needless to say, I'm incredibly mad at myself for not even considering that when I made this. I think I genuinely was just so desperate to get it done that it didn't matter. And now I'm paying the price for that. So I do think I'm going to still actually seam rip and cut this extra fabric off, because it's going to add a lot of bulk to this side of the seam that I don't want. So I'm going to do what I should have done in the first place and seam rip this off so that I can sew this zipper in properly. I just wanted to include some footage of me pinning in the zipper. This is technically an invisible zipper, however, I am not sewing it in such a way that it will take advantage of those qualities, because again, as I stated, I didn't actually leave myself enough seam allowance if I wanted to do this, but when I get to painting it, I don't think it really mattered. I think it all kind of blends in the end. I ended up using just a brown acrylic paint that I super diluted with water for this, and that's what kind of allowed me to match the same tones as the shirt. It didn't need to be perfect, I just needed it to not be so stark white because it stuck out like a sore thumb. Other things related to the undershirt. One of the biggest things is for a craftsmanship competition, you really want to make sure that all of your seams and finishes are really nice and pretty. Not all of mine are. Some of the seams I'm actually considering going back and re-sewing, like the back of this collar here. This is probably one of the things I'm happiest that I did. I kind of got in the zone, so I didn't take a before video. Maybe I'll find a picture, but the inside hem of these is now much cleaner. I basically went through and hand stitched kind of, I don't know if it's a flat felling, stitch in the ditch, whatever. It's a little visible. It definitely could be a little bit more invisible. But I mean, I think that looks like a really nice crisp seam, and I'm excited to do the embroidery on top. That's not the point right now. The biggest point is this undershirt was not hemmed. This was a nightmare to try to hem, because if you'll notice, it's very swoopy, very curved. I didn't actually go through and try to snip the hem or anything when I was doing it. I just went through and literally did a rolled hem with 1.5 million pins to get it to sit flush. So that's been hemmed. Other things that got done on the inside of this shirt is I used bias tape to finish up the center back seam, and then also to finish up the seams on the sides of the shirt as well. That was Peanut screaming at me. Do you want to come here? Oh, baby. Hi, baby. No, you can't go on my craft table. There's sharp things. I thought you wanted attention. Okay, we're going down. There are a few more things that need to be done to this shirt. One of the biggest things is I still agree with my decision not to do the vest as like a full double-lined vest. However, it has left me with some complexities for the standpoint of competing this in a craftsmanship competition. And that's this very visible interfacing. So I don't know what I want to do or how I want to address that because it's fused, like it's ironed onto this fabric. We'll figure it out. But yeah, I have exposed raw edges there, so that's something I'll need to figure out. If you hear rustling, the cat is over there now and is contributing to the sound. I have a new microphone and I didn't plug it in. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. So that's everything that went into the undershirt. This is not the thing I've been spending most of my time on. The thing I have been spending most of my time on is the jacket. Biggest thing has been reevaluating the moss. So before I did this, I straight up just glued the moss to the jacket, which I still don't think was a bad approach. However, I was basically gluing the moss like 2 days before Halloween, and I really just needed it to look good for that. So for a craftsmanship competition, there's now a lot of glue spots on it, and like it just doesn't look the best, so I wanted to elevate it. And so what I've done is used embroidery threads and French knots, and I'm probably going to double talk a little bit here. Zoomies. Because I have some footage recorded already of when I was doing this and explaining it a little bit more. So I've also been messing with the moss. And so this is a section of the pants that the moss was on originally. And what that means is basically this entire black halo is paint. And the moss was applied basically at those edges because the black was designed to kind of help it blend into the fabric. Well, as you can see, there's a good bit of that missing. And that's just because where it was glued, it was really glued, and where it wasn't, it just fell off. You can see that really well over here, is how there's just these gaps and just clearly stuff missing. Like this spot of glue didn't even hold everything on well. So what I'm doing is this has a little bit of it already. It's really hard to see, and this lighting is not helping, surprisingly. That lighting's a little better. So what you can see here is these small specks of green. Well, I'm using embroidery floss, and these are actually colors that are left over from a project I did where I added crochet flowers to a jacket that I bleach painted. If I remember, I'll link it. And basically, I'm just using French knots and essentially straight stitches to add to the texture of this. Currently, it's all just this color, so you can see, I'll get something tiny to point with. You can see them all like right in there and a little bit there. And so not just am I using these French knots to add to the texture, I'm actually using it to sew the fake moss down because I still like the fluffy and messiness that the fake moss gives. And there is a stitch, I've seen it called the turkey stitch or the loop stitch that you can do with embroidery where you get little loops and then you cut it and it's fuzzy. I'm not as confident in that, and also especially on the pants, these don't have a lining. I'm considering changing that solely because of the embroidery. I don't want them to flip this hem and have it look terrible. But I'm using French knots, and I think I'm going to go back through and add some in black to add some depth. I have another really nice dark brown, but I don't have a lot of it, and so I think I'm going to go try to color match it at the store and get more before I incorporate it into this. So this will probably be a repeated process. And again, you can see there was clearly fake moss all the way over here. So this moss section was even bigger originally, and it's just fallen off. So I have a few sections on the pants. There we go. Because they were mostly on the outside, a little on the inside. You can see I've done a little of the fake moss here too. This one needs to be a little bit wider so it's larger. But this brings me to an interesting point because I'm concerned on how I'm going to do it for the jacket, because there's moss on the pockets, which should be fine. I can basically just sew that straight through. Any moss on the back, I'm already going to cut the lining open so I can place the magnets in, so I can just take advantage of that opening. But it's more of the lapels. I think I'm going to have to get really creative with my stitches so it only shows up on the top half. Or, actually, here's an idea. I could do my stitches in such a way that it looks like moss embroidery on the top and the bottom of the piece of fabric. And that way it would be really hard to tell where it starts and stops. That's actually probably the best way to handle places like the lapels and even the sleeves, because I know there's, depending on where in the sleeve it is. So, all right, look at me coming up with ideas. But this is the first cut pass of the embroidery edition, and I think it's looking really good, and I think it's gonna make the moss look a lot less sloppy and a lot more realistic. You can see all those little glue spots shining in the light. So basically all of these little glue spots are gonna get covered with moss and embroidery, just so I don't have to keep looking at them as a, mark of shame on this costume. They might add a little, wet look to it in the final product, but I think right now they just make it look sloppy. So the goal is to make all of those go away. So I've been working at the moss embroidery for a minute, and so here's like the sleeve and stuff that I have. And so I'm trying to achieve a little bit more color variation in it, and part of how I'm doing that is starting by attaching new gray moss, and so you can see the entire back side here. And then what I did for the sleeve is what I'm going to do here is go over it with some more black paint to kind of help it blend into the black moss that I'd originally put down, and also kind of to cover up some of the gaps and stuff in between. But this effect of doing it on both sides, I think, is incredibly effective and makes it look even more gross. And I think it's worked really well. You can see I did a little bit of the black there, so you can kind of see the difference of the new moss and how that blends versus, so old moss, new moss, but painted, new moss, old with a little new. And I'm covering up, this kind of corner join there. I have a lot more to do. This is a very slow process. It's also kind of hard because at worst, especially for the lapel edges, I'm pushing through 4 layers of fabric because this is folded over. So these sections, it's just 2 because it's in the outside and the lining. And then, but right up on this edge, since it's folded over, there's technically 4 layers of fabric. And then right around this corner join gets a lot more complicated. So that's been really hard. So I'm just going to pack that with some black coloring and kind of make this look a little bit more gross. But I am very happy to report that I think this looks even gnarlier than before and is going really well. And so here's unaltered moss, altered moss. I think that's a pretty clear difference, and I think this is looking really nice. But now the lapels are double-sided when it comes to the moss, and there's, using the green, and I think I still want to put some other colors in there, French knots and some new moss, and I think that looks 10 times better than it did before. That isn't done. That part of this jacket still is not done, but we're working on it. We're getting to it. And the other big thing is I bought a wig. I will let past me explain the plan with the wig. So I'm very excited. My wig is here. And so this is from Arta Wigs. This is a Marty Classic in Ash Blonde. I thought this would be a decent base color because, again, I need more of the color of his ends, and somehow I'm going to try to dye more of the roots green. I'm still not entirely sure how that's going to go. It came looking much nicer than this. I've been tousling it and messing with it because this will be my first time styling a wig, and I was trying to see more of if this cut is actually going to work for what I want, because I basically am going to need it to stand up on its ends all the way around. So it'll be a little bit of a smaller wig, and yes, this is a lace front wig. It does have this little widow's peak here. It might be a little bit smaller wig to his head, but Beetlejuice doesn't really have a full head of hair. He's balding anyways, so this is more hair than the man has, so if it's not quite the right length, I think it'll be fine. So first things first is I'm going to tease it. I'm going to tease it and try to get, back comb it really, and then brush it out because I'm going to try to get a lot of texture in this. And once I see how that looks, we're gonna kind of go from there. I will have to cut the lace so that I can get it onto my wig head. Once it's teased and has some texture in it, I'm gonna kind of take it from there. I'll look up some people on how they dye it, because if I can use things like synthetic fabric dye, that would work great. But I also still have that old wig, and while that original wig is gross and crusty, it may actually work decently for something like sewing additional pieces into, you know, here to kind of get, maybe it looks like moss and grossness in the wig. And so I'm considering basically taking pieces from that first wig that I bought and going in along these weft lines and basically sewing in some extra segments to just give it some extra fluff and gross. So yeah, this wig is definitely going to transform, and I hope for the worst, because it's supposed to end up looking disgusting. However, for me, I hope for the better, because this will be my first time styling a wig. I've never done this before, so I can't wait to see how stressful this is. So, other things. I was not sure what shoes I was gonna wear, and then I decided the shoes are fine. I don't think at this point I need to worry about buying new shoes or finding new shoes. The sandworm decided he didn't want to stay there anymore. Okay, buddy. So there's a few big things still left. And one of those is the magnets. So I bought new magnets. The ones I bought before only had 2 pounds of pull force, which is not a lot when it comes to the magnets, and especially for something that needs to be going through at least 2 layers of fabric and is going to be under a lot of stress as I move, because, you know, this thing is going to be kind of squirming and worming. So I believe I bought two different kinds. I think one is 10 pound and the other is 16, or it's a 6 and a 10. I don't remember. I'll put it on the screen, the magnets I bought. Fun fact, ever since I bought these magnets, literally 90% of my advertisements on any platform is all for magnets. I don't need that many magnets. I just needed them for this costume. So you'll see there will be another video before the convention where I'm gonna have to go into this thing and create an opening in the jacket for me to stitch in where all of the magnets go, and then seam rip open the sandworm, rip out those magnets, sew new ones in. And I say rip, but I do mean very carefully and surgically open up the seams of this thing so that when I resew it, I may do so in such a way that it never looks like it was unsewn in the first place, because I need this thing to look pristine. I also need to glue the eyeballs to the sandworm in, because currently they're rattling around in there like a maraca, which is not ideal. I don't know how well this cosplay is going to do in a craftsmanship contest, and that's mostly because I'm not sure of the variety of techniques that I really have on display. So Sarah Spaceman has said in the past that basically wig styling, sewing, armor making, and then I think embellishments are kind of the 4 general categories of cosplay stuff. And arguably, I kind of have all 4. If you consider the sandworm puppets to be armor making, which I kind of do because it's all EVA foam work, and there's a whole understructure under there. I'm also planning on making a build book for this costume, just because I feel like that's how a lot of it will be able to be appreciated, like the small details like the moss, or I don't really want to have to take off the jacket and then take off the undershirt to show, like, you know, how they're attached or any of that weirdness. My thought is at most I'll take off the jacket so that I can show off the fact that the jacket also, you know, has a zipper, and the fact that the jacket is fully lined and fully finished. I still need to finish bias tape all the seams around the zipper, but there's just details they're not going to be able to see, and so I think some semblance of a build book, whether it literally be a few pieces of paper with printouts on how I put the sandworm together, I think that'll be better than nothing. A build book basically gives the judges something to hold on to after you walk away, because you only get so much time to actually talk face to face with the judges. So basically this is a short little update progress video, and that is kind of where we are. That's about all the progress and updates I have. I still have a variety of things that I'm working on. Gonna try out some different editing kind of stuff with this, trying to approach filming and producing these videos in a little bit of a different way. Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. If over the course of me showing you anything that I'm planning to work on for this costume, or, you know, showing you how I'm currently working on it, if you see something you think I need to address, let me know. I'm not gonna be mad. I am trying to make this costume the best it can be in its current form, which is going to be limited because I've made some stupid decisions when putting it together, but, you know, who doesn't look back on past projects with a little bit of, why did I do that? Except I didn't think past projects would be, how long was October? 4 months ago? Just months of difference. I didn't think it was going to be that recent that I would look at this and go, why did I do that? Because there's been a lot of those moments in trying to get this thing finished up. So hopefully those stop happening soon. But yeah, Beetlejuice is becoming grosser, becoming meaner, and yet arguably my seams are becoming cleaner. So thank you so much for sticking around if you made it to this point in the video. This is a straight ramble video with a little bit of footage of what I was doing, because that's kind of where my brain is right now, scattered. I'm just trying to get this thing done because I also want to be able to update some of the pieces of my Mandalorian armor cosplay, because Emily Swallow, I think that's her name, the actress who plays the armor, is going to be at this convention as well, and so I intend to take that costume to her just to kind of show it off, and then also get her to sign the helmet, because I think that would be really fun. So if you've watched my armor cosplay videos and have comments or critiques on that cosplay too, share them. Let me know. I am by no means a professional. I do this for fun, and I hope I can inspire you to do something cool of your own. But with all of that said, thank you so much for getting to this point in the video. Please hit the subscribe and like button if you want to stick around in my weird little corner of the internet. We'd love to have you. If you made it to this point in the video, let me know in the comments. I love to hear it. I love seeing when people engage or watch or comment. I always do my best to try to respond and be engaging with the community. Yeah, I've gotten a few new subscribers. Hello, so nice to have you. I hope you stick around. And with all of that, I will see you in the next one.